This week we are going to talk about real stuff with real things and realtors, but this time is about 2023 reflections. And what that means is we're kind of reflecting back on this last year of not only what happened in Chico in terms of real estate, but also a couple things that happened on the team, a couple things that happened in the nation, I guess, or just like big hot topics for the year.
It's a look back.
It's a look back. We won't bore you with a ton of topics.
But I think in real estate, like the biggest thing was the interest rates, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the increase in the rates.
And the volatility of the rates. It's
right.
like every day I was like, what's the rate today? What's the rate today? Where in history that doesn't really happen.
Right.
It's
and following when the feds are meeting and all of that. Or like,
never have I cared about when the Fed was meeting until this year.
We really need to get a life.
I know. And now I'm like, Fed's meeting. When is it? December 15th. I can't wait.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know it's been really interesting. So in January, rates were at 5.99, and that to me, I'm like, I can't believe we even had a 5.99 rate. It's been so long.
And at the time, it seemed so high.
It seemed so high.
And then they bumped up to what, like over 8%?
Yeah, we hit over 8% last month. So was that like early October? So that was we. May of last year, I bought a house and I was below 5. We were at like 4.7% or something like that. So I know that last spring we started getting those rate hikes into the 4s, and that still felt low enough for me to buy a house, at least like comfortable enough. And then we just got rate hike. And everyone was saying, there's no way prices don't come down with all these rate hikes. We went from 3.5% to 8% in like a year and a half. That's a big change. It's the biggest change in interest rates, I think, in history that I know of.
Right, the fastest change. But
change.
Now we're sitting in the low 7s.
Now we're in the low 7s,
and hopefully they will go down a little bit next year. It'd be great if we could get into the 6% ish, just under 7.
And they are saying they might start lowering rates in March. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect that to make our inventory increase. I think taking that back a little bit, the problem I guess it's good news and bad news is that nobody's putting their home on the market. So prices have they're stable.
Yeah, despite a double interest rate. Am I saying that right? Like it went at 4% and then went to 8% and prices did not go down. We did have a dip, I will say. We definitely did go down, but year over year, this time last year, right now it's end of November, beginning of December, compared to today, it's right around the same average price point in Chico. Right. So, which is around 439, 440, which sounds on par for us.
I don't foresee prices going down anytime.
No, I mean, even
in the near future anyway.
We kept saying, if they get into the 7s, they'll go down. If they get into the 8s, they must go down. If they get to 9%, they must go down. But we don't have the supply. So at the end of the day, the supply and demand is trumping the higher payments and the unaffordability. And people are figuring out a way to afford it at the end of the day.
People that if they have to move or
exactly. Yeah.
So that was definitely, I think, the biggest thing in real estate were interest rates. One of the other things was insurability, getting insurance, having some of those big companies leave the state. Is still causing some problems, and it's very expensive now to get insurance and difficult for people to find them. It's one of the first things that we discuss after they've been pre-approved is, okay, now you got to figure out, you got to get your insurance in place. That was a big one.
And that's contributing to the overall like unaffordability of today's market compared to past markets where we have the higher rates, the steady prices, and now we have higher homeowners insurance.
Right. And so what that has all meant is that we've seen a decrease. Earlier in the year, we had seen a decrease in sales of about 40%, the number of sales. But Q3, end of Q3, started Q4, now we're seeing things pick up a little bit. So now we're about 30% fewer sales, which is still a pretty big hit for people in our industry.
It's a third.
Yeah. And especially lenders, I think they're definitely having the hardest time because of the no refis. But that'll change. Once rates start going down, they'll pick back up again. But yeah, I think those are, for our industry, the biggest changes we've seen. Hot topics this year. All right. Well, what about some of the hot things, hot topics? That's kind of a weird way to say that, but
some of the notable things that happened on the Laffins team this year.
Well, we got a fantasy football league.
Yeah, our first ever fantasy football. I did not partake, but it looked fun.
You need to next year.
No.
Why not?
It just does not interest me at all. Not in the slightest.
Okay, well then Dylan can do it.
Dylan would do it.
Yeah.
But then I'm watching more football in my house.
You don't have to watch it. You just need to look at your app. You're perfect for that. You can just look at the app and see how you're doing.
The app looks so confusing.
So we got that. And then, of course, the other big football news was...
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Travis became famous.
Taylor put Travis on the map.
Yeah. Actually, we have on our board topics that we cannot discuss, and it's Taylor Swift is the first thing.
A few of us may have gone a little overboard with the Taylor topics this year.
And the person that put that on the board is our
most recent male hire.
Right. Brave soul. Elvis Valencia.
Basically, we have not had a man on the team since before I was on the team. So 2017, 2016.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. And
so it's been a while.
Yeah. So first ever in 5 years or so.
And he's doing great.
He's doing great.
He's hanging
Elvis.
in there.
Shout out. Come poke your head in here.
We're talking about Elvis. Look at that.
Look at the flower fountain.
Hello.
And he speaks Spanish. So actually, you were the first male hire and the first Spanish speaker.
Yep.
And then we got a second Spanish speaker.
Yep.
So we now have 2 Spanish-speaking agents on the team.
And we have
helpful.
2 pregos on the team, which is super exciting.
First ever Laffins babies.
So excited.
One is on her first, one is on her second.
One's having a boy, one's having a girl.
Yep.
It's we got it covered.
Yeah, we got it covered.
Super exciting.
The next generation of realtors on the Laffins team.
You know what we forgot to say? We forgot to talk about one of the big things that happened other than on the Laffins team was the Chat GPT. That was kind of
that's next for the world.
Oh,
I got that.
We're under the world. Well, let's move on to the world.
Yeah, we'll move on there now.
What happened to the world, Kelsey?
The world imploded this year. Just kidding. Okay, so we talked about Chico. We talked about the teams. Now, what happened in the nation, in the world? Well, we talked briefly about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. That was a big thing. Huge. It's currently really big. Geez. I mean, Taylor Swift is at the peak of her career. Almost every single person has probably heard her or listens to her in my generation.
I do have to add to that we know that there's a lot of other important shit that happened in the world, and we're just not going to go there on this. We're just keeping this fun and lively. So we don't want to say that is like the most important thing that happened in the world, because we know there was a lot of tragic things that happened in the world. There's tragic things that happened to me personally, but we're keeping this fun and light. So just a little side note.
Yes, there is war going on as well.
Yeah.
But we don't want to talk about sad things right now.
Not right now.
So we got Taylor. We got Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Chat GPT is a game changer. And actually, they fired their CEO last week, and then they rehired him back.
Oh,
which is good. Yes, that was a big whoops, and it's a good thing that he's back. Emily, who uses ChatGPT religiously, was saying it was down for a minute this weekend, and she almost had a panic attack and passed out. But she came back on. No, it's the CEO's back, and anyway, ChatGPT is a game changer. I mean, even this week I was like, didn't know what to make for dinner, so I put, give me 3 recipes inspired by Half-Baked Harvest, and give me shopping lists for them. Bam, bam, bam. Loved all 3 of them, coincidentally, because I'm kind of picky. And then it listed everything I needed from the store. I put it in my Safeway app, picked it up from Safeway in my car, never got out of the car, had dinners. Isn't that wild? Who would have thought?
That is wild. And pretty soon we won't have to use our brains at all. It's going to be amazing.
I know. Well, I do have a binder of dinners too, but I wasn't at home.
Well, that's good.
So anyway, it's just, you can use it. We use it a lot here. You can use it for Instagram captions. It's basically in place of Google, and then does your thinking for you.
Right.
Too.
No, I use it. I do use it. I don't use it for stuff like that usually, but I have used it for a
You
couple
would
other
if you
things.
started to. It's like even thinking, I could use ChatGPT for this is one thing. It's like even thinking about that. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I ask it? And then, it took a while.
So for my family on the holidays, we're getting stuff from local stores. What's a good gift for a female from a local store in Chico, California? Would it be able to get it down to that detailed?
It's not going to know what Made in Chico has or anything like that, but it could give you what I use it for is broad ideas, and then
isn't
spark
it
other ideas.
Still 2 years old?
I think
info's
it's
2021.
No, Courtney says no. Is it 2020? Okay. So that's good.
ChatGPT is now moved on from 21 to 23.
Yeah, so it's up. All of its information is updated to January 2023.
Didn't know that. Good to know. See, we do have good information here on this lovely podcast.
In case you didn't know.
All right, anything else you want to talk about that happened in the world?
Not really anything that's happened. I mean, I wrote down Ocean Gate, but that's really sad. So we don't really need to talk about that. But that was a big thing. Obviously, the war overseas, 2 of them.
I think we had somebody go to the moon again. Yeah, I mean,
we have... what's Elon Musk's satellite thing that's flying around, and it's like a line of 10 satellites.
Oh.
What's that called, Emily?
Sounds like a
Starlink. Courtney, thank you.
Satellite.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Oh, it's weird when you see it. You freak out because you're like, it looks like a UFO because it's all these dots in a row and it just orbits. It's pretty wild. So,
well, they're all listening to us, right? I mean, everything we talk about, Alexa's listening to us. Yeah. Everybody's listening to us. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't know what Starlink is for exactly, but I'm sure Elon Musk has some big plans for like internet, phone, everything like that. It's all going to be Elon one day, probably, because he has better ideas than everyone else.
Well, he implements them well.
He implements them.
Yeah.
He knows how to implement them.
Okay, I think that's good for the reflection.
Let us know if you guys have any reflections.
Post your reflection here. 2023. All right, let's go on to the next one.